Hello and welcome to the Roll and Reflect podcast, the podcast where we bring you insights from behind the tabletop and beyond the box. I'm one of your hosts, Devon.
And I'm Mark.
And today we are going to be talking about the battle of all time, the most epic battle of all time, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. Yes. What are we talking about, Mark?
Heroscape, still one of my favorite games of all time. I have so much Heroscape stuff. It's just insanity because, I mean, my closet is just full of tubs of things. And this is one of the things about Heroscape, if you don't know about, if you were able to buy original box, you're not putting everything back in the box. Nope, just not happening.
Nope.
So I've got tubs and tubs of it with just about everything. I'm only missing like a couple things from the original release of things. I've got some of the terrain is very limited defined, like some of the ice stuff and jungle stuff that I had. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I've got it all jam packed. I even have some custom characters I found on a site long time ago. I can't think of what they were, and I couldn't get into my closet at the moment because of prototypes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a game that I've loved, and we can talk about usages for it, right? It's not just for Heroscape because of the landscape. So we'll get in more into that. But yep.
Yeah, Heroscape is awesome. So that's what we're talking about. We're unearthing Heroscape, the origins of the legendary tabletop war game. But before we do that, we have a couple things. We are running a contest right now. We had the first episode, we talked about it. But if you want to send us an email at rollandreflect@gmail.com, and in the contest description, all you need to do is tell us who the name of the character of the octopus is in Cosmoctopus. Mm-hmm. We're doing that from Lucky Duck Games. We will be announcing the winner on episode number 4. Keep your eye out on that one. And then finally, we have a very special guest with a reflection question to ask of you today. Who's that special guest? Well, it's actually going to be me today. So,
what?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I have a really interesting question, Mark. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
What do you think the board game industry can improve on in modern day times, or what would you like them to improve on going forward? Let's say the next year or half of a year. I'll let you go first because I feel very strongly about mine.
I feel like you should go first because you were pretty passionate about this question. Really curious to hear what you think.
I am very passionate about this question, mainly because I'm a guy with very little mind space of rule books, right? Reading rule books. I beg publishers, stop making 40-page rule books, 20-page rule books.
Yes.
I cannot do it. Like, I'm the guy in our gaming group that has to teach and learn and set up and do all that stuff. On top of all the other things I'm trying to do, it's just rule books like that are just, I open it up and I kind of fall. I'm just like, man, I guess I can go play a small game. That's something I feel very passionate about. And like, as a game designer too, it's very much in the back of my mind. Like, how can I streamline the rules to be shorter and less like complex overall in their rules writing? So what do you feel about the rule books?
That would have been top of my list as well as to answer for this question, because it is the bane of my existence, especially since I deal with prototype rule books all the time. And the thing with it is, you know, I mean, more and more you can get like PDFs and have them in digital form, which is something I prefer. I wish there was like an interactive app that had all my library of different rule books. But, you know, as far as those 40-page rule books go, there's a lot of fluff in there for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, but there are some really big games that you have to have that kind of volume. But in general, though, I do like the streamlined rule books. And please, this is the big thing for me. Do not put a call out in a rule book that's off to the right that isn't in the main rules. That I have to, I'm like over here, oh, that was a crucial rule.
Yeah.
Why is that not part of the steps here? You know, that drives me crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely something that, you know, I see in the rules and I'm like, oh, cool. And then you get to the very end and it's like that call out. It's like, wait, we missed that this whole time because it's a tiny call out.
Yes.
Like,
stop doing that.
I think there was one game that I played that lasted like an hour longer than it needed to because of just a simple rule that was in a small box on like the far right of the rule book. And we were just like, man, we thought we knew everything. But
right. And if you're a publisher that's doing like previews with me and you've got prototype rule books, at minimum, put a picture of all your components in. Because I have had, my favorite example that I give is that I will be reading through the rules, and I'll have like 30 tokens. No pictures, nothing. It'll say, now take the Doom token. What is the Doom token?
What's the Doom token? Yeah, there we go. So that's the reflection question for you all. If you have a very strong opinion about what you want to see improve, go ahead and leave a comment below and let us know, because we are very curious about that. We'll
I was
engage
a little
in
afraid to say that. I was a little afraid to say the same thing, because it always feels like a cliche, right? To say, oh, everybody says rule books,
right?
But it's such a thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting to be even more a thing nowadays too. But we're not talking about rulebooks, because we're talking about Heroscape.
Yes.
And I do have to say, Heroscape rulebook actually was pretty good.
Well, and the gameplay is super straightforward, right? I mean,
that helps.
That helps a lot. The scenarios and stuff, and I'm looking forward in the new one to see what their scenarios are. But in general, the story elements and adding those kinds of things are really neat. And the fact is that you can go to the heroscape.org, I think it is, right? And you can download tons of maps and tons of scenarios and things to do, which is, I mean, there's just a volume of work there that people put up. So
I
think check that out. But
I think there's like heroscapers.com.
Something
like that as well.
Yep.
But whatnot. So what is Heroscape? Let's talk about the origins of where it came from. I know for me, I've owned Heroscape since I was a young kid. And as soon as I saw that first commercial, which, you know what, I might actually cue that commercial here in the edit.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So cue commercial right now.
Warriors from all of time have been collected and brought to you. This is Heroscape. More than just a strategy game, embark on a build and battle fantasy adventure like no other. You build the environment, making every encounter unique. Then select your team, the strength of a Viking champion or the cunning of a samurai warrior. Assemble your forces of power, arrange your field of play, and let the battle of all time begin. Heroscape.
And we're back. So yeah, because of that commercial, I was instantly hooked. I'm
man, no doubt.
Building the terrain, like that was just unheard of at the time.
It was just phenomenal. And the interlocking pieces and the quality of those pieces. One of the things that I found when I was picking up parts and everything, I found at a garage sale, someone had a giant amount of landscape, and so I bought it all for like $1.99.
Oh wow, that's so cheap.
So, and then the downside is that came from a very much a smoker home, right? So I took all the tiles and I ran them through the dishwasher. They survived, no problem. Super thick, sturdy plastic, but it cleaned them up really nicely to do that. So.
Yeah, so what is Heroscape? Well, Heroscape is essentially a turn-based miniature wargaming system.
Yeah, it's like Wargame Light, but
Wargame Light. It's not Warhammer.
It's almost like a dice chucker version of a Wargamer, right? So
yeah, it was created by Hasbro subsidiaries in 2004, I believe, something like that. In 2008, Wizards of the Coast acquired the game, and the original toy line was then discontinued in 2010. Created by Craig Van Ness, Rob Davio, and Stephen Baker. Some pretty big names.
Pretty big names, yeah.
So that's like where it started, and essentially the game featured a variety of things and characters from history, which was my favorite part.
And dragons,
of course. Yeah, it's like everything from sci-fi and fantasy to dragons, elves, agents, Vikings, samurai, wizards, and Marvel, as we will get to.
The most, right?
We'll talk about that later. No spoilers. It captured the imagination of players by not only letting them build the terrain, but also have characters of all types. Like you could be a dragon fighting an elf, fighting a Kyrie warrior, and a big dog. Like
that, it was just building the terrain, and then it turned into this thing when I would play like RPGs, role playing, D&D, whatever. We would use the landscape for that as well, for all the scenarios and things. So there's multiple usage beyond even Heroscape for that landscape. It's just so fun, and we literally would spend a day building to play the next day, right? Because that was almost sometimes more fun than playing, was building the landscapes and seeing what you could come up with, and just let's build with every single piece of landscape we have, kind of thing. So
yeah, and my friends are always like, wait, we're using all of this? And I'm like, yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
But I think for me, like this terrain is top notch. Like it's high quality terrain, and especially back in the day, back in, what was it, 2004, 2005, whatever.
Yep.
That's like crazy to see that this was the stuff that they could come up with at the time.
Yep.
It was expensive, but today it's crazy expensive.
It's crazy expensive. A lot more. But I bought like at least two of the big master sets back then. And so
what was it? Rise of the Valkyrie.
Yeah, Rise of the Valkyrie.
It had this awesome Morrow hive.
Morrow is so cool. And it's even got like the domes on it, right? The clear
yeah, it has like, if you're watching on YouTube, it has the little domes here that you can see. Funny story.
Is it like egg pouches under there or something like that? Yeah,
egg pouches. It's a really funny story about the Morrow hive specifically. This is a little bit of a tangent, but we got time, right?
Yeah.
So my younger brother and I played this a long time when I was younger. And I always told him that this Morrow hive, in the bottom of here, there's jelly that would actually come out of the Morrow hive if we do a certain thing, if we attack it. So even back then, I was designing games. I was like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so if you're next to the Morrow hive, you attack it and then watch. Something will actually happen. Like, it's not going to happen right now, but at some point, a Morrow will pop out of the bottom of that, and it'll be jelly. And he believed me full on, and it was the best thing. That's
awesome.
But
I mean, I played, we had friends, and then my kids when they were younger, they had so much fun building, and it was easy enough to pick up that, even when they were younger, they could play really easily. Because like I said, it's this really and I'm a huge fan of dice checkers, and this has just got all those elements of dice checking in it, as well as some strategy. So
yeah, and the terrain, like you said, that's almost the fun of the game. Yeah. It's like, I really enjoy the game and I like dice chucking, but just building for me was the relaxing aspect of it.
Yep.
And very therapeutic. And like half the time.
Same thing like Legos. It's the same kind of idea. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, half the time my friends and I would just build and we wouldn't actually play because we just enjoyed the building aspect.
And I love too that they took into account, like, I have the high ground when you battle.
Yes.
You get an extra attack die.
I have the high ground.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things to say as being someone from Colorado, right?
Yeah, you definitely have the high ground compared to me from Iowa here. But let's talk about dice chucking because we all know Mark Streed loves dice chucking, and he says that all the time.
All the time.
With the combat system, it's so streamlined that makes it just so easy to play with anyone.
Yeah.
And
now, did you have both sets of dice, the ones that were just for shields and the ones that were just for attacking, and then finally they did the white ones with the combined, that had both shields and attack? I have all the dice, all kinds.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous because I only have the white dice. So I never got to play with the original, only shields, only whatever.
It was so cool. I was kind of disappointed because the white was just not as cool as the red and blue dice.
Yeah, right? I'm sure I could go on the secondhand market and buy that for expensive amount.
And I know that they make some I've seen some custom dice too that I never had or used, but that would be really fun too.
The dice combat was one of my favorites in the game because essentially, what you would do is you go around with these miniatures around the board. They have different character cards that you would have abilities and health stats. So like they'd have, again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see
the life,
6 life, move, range, attack, and defense.
Yep.
And based on what that number is, the attack and defense, you roll that many dice.
Yes.
Instead of just roll 5 dice for everyone.
Right.
They balanced it out that way. And I really enjoyed how they did that. And then it's just a simple 1 skull, 1 shield, block.
Yep.
Any skulls that are on block, you take the damage.
Just a quick and easy compare, and you're moving on. It's so good. Yep.
And I think one of the things I like about the strategy is that if you really were a gateway, like you've never played before, or you just want to start playing, you don't have to do the abilities on the back. You can just play with the character.
That's how I played with the kids when they were younger. Yeah,
exactly. And so I really love that because that's how I've been teaching people.
Sure.
And then I was like, let's introduce you to the backside now. And then it's a whole other world of gaming.
No doubt. Well, now tell me, what did you think? I love it personally, but a lot of people complained about the configuration and size of the cards, right? Because they're not like a square card.
No, definitely not a square card.
They're built like hexes, like the game board, which is so cool.
And it's very unique for that time, especially modern day. It's very different.
I did get, like you have there, I have sleeves. Mine are all sleeved as well. So
yeah, it's literally built the exact same way,
which is so cool. But it also allows for more info, and you're not here squinting at a tiny little text in the card.
Yeah, so, I can see why people hate it because it is a little inconvenient at some point on the table. But when you got to think about the people, the audience that are playing this game, right? Like
Yeah.
they are going to have big tables with
Sure.
big setups for the most part.
I mean, you only need to pay attention to the units that you're moving and doing something with. So just stack it and move through the. Yeah, I always thought that complaint was silly. But
yeah, I think if you're playing like smaller teams, like you should be doing, like
But I mean,
optimal teams.
Right. You can always build a smaller map. And there's ways to, on a small map, if you use like water strategically, you can slow everybody down and how they move. So
I don't really hate it that much. I really enjoyed the style of it. And I love how when you take the cards, you can put them next to each other and build out like hexes as well.
So cool.
I did that all the time.
I did that all the time too. Stack them across the board or the table. It was really fun.
The gameplay overall, what was another thing that you really found fascinating about the gameplay outside of the dice chucking combat?
Since it was way, I don't know, 2004, 2005 or whatever, I just loved the fact back then that you would set out your turn markers, I forget what they're called.
Order markers.
And you had one that was a false, right? So you were bluffing who might go first or whatever, right? So I liked that back then, and obviously it's used a lot now, but I don't remember it being used a lot back then. I just remember being like, oh, that's so cool. You just don't know who's going to engage,
Small amount of deduction makes for a great gameplay experience.
And of course, I like too that the fact that you have heroes, unique heroes, you've got squads that are fodder to some degree, but the fact that you could have like 3 big squads and just have them swarm was super cool. Those kinds of things are really neat for sure.
And they make for a really good like synergy between each other to have like some of the characters, some of the like the unique heroes have special powers that relate to unique squads or common squads, and so they a power with each other. And I was like, man, it's some cool stuff back in the day. That you see a lot now. It's very common now.
Yep.
But this
and
was
they did
legendary.
it in such a streamlined, easy to engage with way. And that's what I think just really kind of drew me in, because it was easy to get people to jump in. And even like my wife, who would never play a game like this, she would totally be all about building the landscape and putting it together. She's like, wow, this is neater than I thought it would be. Things like that. I just like the engagement factor, and everything is painted and colorful. And I, as someone who's not a painter, I just love that aspect as well. And it was just like I was playing with toys from back when I was a kid. It was just so awesome.
Yeah, the toy factor is absolutely ridiculous. Like of today's times, if this came out, like this is a 5 out of 5 in toy factor.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you don't need fancy paint jobs or anything. Like it has paint on it.
Yeah.
Like it's not the best paint job by any means,
but it looks pretty good, better than I could paint.
Right. I am not a painter at all. Let's talk about our favorite characters, but before we do that, I want to actually talk about a little bit of the factions in each one, because they all have their own little flavor. And I have a list of factions here I'll just go over. So let's start with Einar. Yep. Einar is the disciplined warriors and samurai-like figures, and they have the background of like orange background, I believe.
Yes.
Did you play with a lot of Einar?
I love the samurai figures. Absolutely. Samurai? Yeah. I tried to put together like a whole samurai team at once, off and on, depending on what we were doing. But yeah, I love that aspect. And then turning like with those things, we can talk more about it in a bit. But the thing is that almost turning Heroscape into its own RPG, where you were moving through this world and events would happen and things. And it wasn't just about me fighting someone else across the table. So yeah, I loved the fact that we could do fully themed adventures, like now we're doing a samurai adventure or whatever. So
yeah, I didn't use Einar a ton. Like I like the Phantom, the ninjas. The ninjas were of the Northern Wind, like.
Well, pairing the samurai and the ninja together were really fun.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
And then you have Jandar, who are the knights, archers, and soldiers fighting for justice and honor. You have Ullar, who are the elves, tree folk, and a lot of your woodland creatures. My favorite is definitely the Ullar faction. Vydar, which is more about futuristic and technology. Utgar, or Utgar. I think it's Utgar.
Utgar.
And of course, those are the monstrous creatures, the undead.
Which are so fun.
They're so epic. And that's actually where the Morrow Hive is coming from. They're part of the Utgar faction.
They are.
And then some of the ones that I never got to experience was like Aquilla, the winged and mythological creatures.
Oh my gosh, they're awesome.
I didn't know anything about them. I didn't have Valkrill, which is the demons, goblins.
That's crazy. Those are good too.
And then Zute, which which are the trolls and primal creatures. Those are the 4 that I've never had any experience with.
Really?
I couldn't buy them.
I don't know that I ever stuck with any one faction, right?
Yeah.
I've always mixed and matched. And if you don't know the game, there's a point value system, and you can assign like, hey, let's make
500 point armies
or 1,000, like I like to do. Because I wanted to put more heroes in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so you build around that, but then that gives you the opportunity to just build any kind of army you want.
Yeah, and I think that's where we got a little bit broken with our gameplay, because half the time we didn't even use the point values, realizing over time that was a bad idea.
Yeah, you got to have some restrictions,
some balance. Sure. And we just were like, let's pick the characters based on who we want. Yep. And those
we
games
would do like
work.
a 600 to 700 point value generally was what we
and that's a pretty common, like 500 is like the common small army.
Sure.
But yeah, we always did like 700 plus, because it's like, you want the big armies, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
And then we're gonna
dragons and stuff too, right? And any of the flying creatures had such great advantage, especially because water, like I said before, water slows you down.
Yeah.
And there's different, terrain types like ice and things. So the winged creatures and the flying ones are pretty cool.
The flying mechanism is strong in every game. Like any game that has flying, it's always going to be the most powerful, because it's like it gets around everything. And then we have to talk about your favorite faction.
Yes.
I'm going to let you go into that.
They also released a Marvel faction, which had a ton of different characters, like Venom and the Hulk being my favorite. But it also had like Captain America and so forth. But the thing here is that the unique thing about that set is the terrain that you didn't get anywhere else. You had asphalt, you had concrete, you had brick. Things that aren't in any of the other sets. So that was super cool. The Hulk is just this crazy, overpowered, just massive
face.
He's got a life of 8. His move is 5, but he has a super leap that allows him to do move of 10.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's obviously has to be engaged, so his range is just 1. But and then he starts with an attack of 6. But as he takes damage, he gets more angry. Up to 5 extra dice for having like 5 points of damage on him.
That's absurd.
So 11 possible dice he could be rolling in an attack. So I loved pitting him up against like 3 dragons or something just to see how that would go. And, he would typically either almost win or always win. Just so cool. And I loved his special attacks like the stomp and the super leap and the rage, right? All that. So, and his characteristics is angry, right? So I love that. So, but his point value is 370 alone, just 370
so
just for him. So yeah, I love the Hulk so much.
Yeah,
and
it has the same ability as Krug, one of my favorites. I don't know if you can see that there, but Krug is like that big troll guy.
Big troll guy, yes.
And he has wounded smash, so every time he takes an extra die for each wound he has.
He has that.
I'd always run up, take a bunch of damage, and then just smack face. That's super thematic.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing about the Hulk too, right? I was like, wow, finally a game that truly makes him overpowered like he should be.
Yep.
Because every chance they get in TV and shows, and let's nerf the Hulk.
Yeah, because he's too powerful.
Stop it.
He's supposed to be powerful. That's the idea, right?
That's the point. Yeah. So anyway, I had a ton of fun with the Hulk. I tried to incorporate him in all my armies when I could.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing something specific, but he's just the standout character, and sometimes he'd be the last man standing and even win.
Yeah, I found like for me, I played with the Marvel heroes, and they were just so powerful that it was like I didn't want to play them with my other factions. We got to a point where if we wanted to play Marvel, we would only play the Marvel characters. I didn't want to mix and match.
The thing is that he does really well, but overwhelming odds, right? That's the thing. It's still only 8 health.
Yeah.
So you can take him out.
Yeah, you just have to have some good synergies and have some good dice mitigation efforts.
And you have markers for health, which is really, again, even the markers for health, if you compare to today, like
way better.
Just so much better. They're plastic and they stack, and I love the fact that they stack up on your character. It's so cool.
It's like small things that they thought about.
Yeah,
great.
Well done. Yep.
But your favorite character is the Hulk. My favorite character is a lovely Savaris. That is the Archer.
Yeah. Archery stuff is pretty awesome, actually.
Lord of the Rings. Who's that guy from Lord of the Rings? I feel
Legolas.
Yeah, Legolas. Savaris is by far my favorite. He dies pretty fast because people know how strong he is. So
Right.
whenever I play him out, I'm like, bro, you're going to get some attacks in, but you're going to die pretty fast. So
Yeah,
make
for sure.
it worth it. Get the high ground once again and crush with that. So I love any of the arrow characters because I've always been a ranged person. I'm not a run and gun, like get in your face kind of guy. So I love having the ranged characters. And then some like heavy gruts and something, or the Viking warriors, which are my favorite common squad, going in, moving again, attacking, while you have your rangers in the back. So that was always my favorite thing.
I love the range stuff too, but I was always, even in D&D, I always played like the barbarian, so that's why the Hulk appeals to me so much.
Yeah,
obviously.
You were that guy, Mark.
I was that guy.
Next, let's talk about the rise and fall under the Hasbro subsidiary Avalon Hill. We have to talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
They totally blew it.
They totally blew it. I wasn't going to be that mean, but they totally blew it.
They absolutely did.
There's so many things we could talk about like the failure of that campaign. I think the first thing we need to talk about is Hasbro Pulse. Okay, we're both crowdfunding people, right? Hasbro Pulse was one of the biggest factors of failure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No one knows about it, first off. It's something where it's just Hasbro's platform, so it didn't rub people the right way, even because of that. And then it's just like even the crowdfunding page itself looked not very aesthetically
It was not
pleasing.
good. And I was so excited. I went to the page, despite the whole Hasbro thing, and I've ordered from them before, but I was just so excited to go there. And then I start looking at things, and everything is like a single color. And they aren't painted. It looks like they've gone cheap on everything, and they want even more money than the originals.
Yeah, so, they wanted, I think, about $2 million to fund the total project. And when I saw the page, again, I was just like you. I was going to go all in and back in that.
Same.
And I looked at the page and I saw these factions with art that didn't even look at all close to what it was supposed to be. The factions were just colored, and that's just weird.
And I was immediately out. I didn't even go back a second time to contemplate. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not. I wouldn't use any of this.
Yeah, I think I even watched the video a couple of times because I was trying to hype myself up. Like I was doing it. I was like, no, not working for me. Avalon Hill decided, we're going to try this. And then their marketing. I'm a marketing guy. And that was some of the worst marketing I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely. So bad. So bad. And and being someone who just absolutely loves this game, I was so incredibly disappointed. I'm like, well, it's going to just continue to be a dead product.
But and they didn't have pledge levels. They simply required a $250 pre-order. Right, I think it was.
Yep.
For a starter set that included 71 unpainted miniatures and numerous terrain pieces.
Yeah, and wasn't it like neon colors? Different
neon colors, and it's like people aren't going to paint those, but that doesn't work. It doesn't match the original aesthetic, so people were not into that. And then they only ended up getting 4,300 backers, which, think about this, Mark. 4,300 backers. That's like nothing.
Yeah, I know.
There is this Heroscape has been around because of the community for how long now?
Yeah,
since 2004 even though it was discontinued, the community just kept going with it, with all the customs and all the units and stuff. But
20 years, right?
They fell about 50% short of the needed 8,000 back. That was just like Mark says earlier.
Totally blew it. They had gold in their hand.
They did.
Right? And they just...
But now we get to 2024, 2023, 2024. And then we hear about this company by the name of Renegade Game Studios, a small company, They're not small. They're not a small company.
Small. They're awesome.
So Heroscape is being revived. So it was this weird community thing where it was a failure. And we were all just like, man, it's not going to come back. And then we start getting rumors about it coming back. And we're like, okay, what's happening now? And then Renegade announces that they bought the rights and the intellectual property.
So good.
And then they just recently had their live stream announcing all of the things. And I was actually on a podcast, the Tales of Valhalla podcast, live streaming with them. And we were watching it in real time. And we were all talking. We were like, we're going to talk about this in real time. And all of them were just like, okay, I can get behind that. Like they were obviously critical, but overall in the end, it felt good as a member of the Heroscape community because they were just like relieved. It's like, it's gonna happen now. You know,
it looks real finally, right? I mean, it is a total like just continuation. It doesn't feel like they're trying to reboot it or anything like that. It just feels like a continuation. Now, I love the fact that they're doing the battle box that has a built-in like scenario.
Yep.
What are we doing in this battle box? That is so cool. And the fact is that they're doing the unpainted and painted, which is pretty neat. I don't really care about the unpainted. I'm not going to go paint them, but I know that there was some people in the community who were really excited about that. So, I mean, go for it, paint. But I just want the ready to go out of the box. Let's play. You know?
Yeah. One thing I really love that they did is they hired a community manager, and I'm a community manager as well. And so I feel very strongly about this. So they hired Lee. Lee did exceptional work and is doing exceptional work and going out there and seeing what we're looking for as Heroscape players. And so they were like, okay, we need to do painted and unpainted, because there are very much a lot of community members who are good painters. I am not one of them. The unpainted option is a little bit more expensive, as it should be. But
isn't the painted option more expensive? Yeah.
Or sorry, I mean, painted option is more expensive than the unpainted, as it should be. But it's gonna happen. Like, they're gonna be painted miniatures, and I am looking forward to it. I did go all in. I backed everything, because Renegade is a company I trust.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too.
So it was kind of funny. We were talking in the podcast, and I was like, "Oh, Renegade's a good company," because I know Scott and I know a few of those guys. What are you talking about? They were going off on me about Renegade, and I was like, "You don't obviously know the board game side of things."
Yeah, for sure.
In the Heroscape community, they might not be the best, but they will be. Trust me, they will be your bread and butter here soon. That's really exciting. And then another thing I wanted to talk about is they announced organized play.
Yes, and all kinds of things around the website for it. There's going to be all kinds of challenges. There's going to be a giant event at Gen Con for it. So, I mean, they're really going all in, and it looks like they're going to be supporting it for a long time. So,
yeah, I have a feeling this was something that Scott talked about as he really wanted, and he's a huge believer in D&D and like role playing and stuff. And this scratches that itch a little bit,
because literally you don't have to just do let's battle. No, you can go through the scenarios that they provide, or even download some, and they're going to have tons of scenarios and things you can download just moving forward. So I like the fact that there's story elements and things that more going on than let's just beat up each other.
Yeah, because it is nice to have those scenarios where sometimes you get overwhelmed. I don't want to attack all the time, maybe, and I want to cooperate a little bit sometimes.
And there's like just even simple ones like pick up and deliver, just add that next level difference to the game than just battling back and forth, right? So
yeah, and the fact that they're bringing in game stores again, and like it feels like a true revival.
It does. It really does.
So they're talking about, they have a launch tournament with a Shiori promo miniature, and I got to see that.
So cool looking.
Oh my gosh, that miniature looks so good.
So, but the neat thing they also announced about that is that it's not just going to be a promo. It will be initially, but then they'll have it for sale later. So you are not going to just miss out if you don't have access.
It's not like a Kickstarter exclusive that you're going to miss out on, which I will be buying that as well. So that's really nice for me. They're talking about monthly scenarios. So that's what you're talking about. They're going to continue on with the community. They have enough stuff from the community, like enough support.
Oh, yeah.
They can do so much.
I'm so excited because, like you said, it is like another way to scratch that itch for D&D and do something a little bit different, right?
So that's really exciting. It's going to be coming back, the revival. They do have a purchase price set, $125 unpainted, $225 painted. So with the big master set, that is $100 extra for the painted miniatures. But if you think about it, there's I can't remember how many miniatures, 20 new miniatures fully painted. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have like total of 71 miniatures full. Oh no, it's 20. You're right.
It's like I thought it was 20, but maybe in total there's like maybe 70 or something. Yeah. But then they have the Battle for Wellspring, which is what you're talking about, that small battle box. That's 65.
I find that really intriguing because they could do a whole series of those battle boxes, right?
And they will be. Yeah. It's very much.
Also, the battle box has a unique new tile that we've not seen before. I forget what it's called, but it's this magical tile basically that you could be bad to stand on, but it could be good.
Yeah, it actually heals you. That tile does. What is it? The Wellspring tile?
The Wellspring. That's it. The Wellspring. But doesn't it do something bad potentially as well? I thought.
I can't remember. I know talking with Lee, she said something about healing and then maybe something bad. If you're on it for a long period of time or something, because they probably don't want players to sit there and heal every turn. Yeah.
But it's such a cool idea. We haven't had like a new piece of terrain in forever, right? And speaking of terrain, real quick, do you have the sparkly blue water or do you have the regular blue water?
I originally just had the regular blue water. Okay. And then my friend came over and surprised me as a birthday present with the sparkly blue water. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? My mind was blown. It was awesome.
I also got a series of like big maps that put down as you add the stuff to it. So it kind of limited how much you could build, but it added another layer of something in terrain that you could use in the game. So yeah, there's just so many possibilities around how you can play this game.
Yeah, that's absurd. But then they of course had the Grove at Lars Edge as their terrain set.
And my gosh, those trees are bigger than, I think they're bigger than even that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the biggest tree in the original that I have, that I own.
Christmas tree is what I was
Christmas tree. Yeah. Cause that's very much what it is. But yeah, the Lars trees are like, this, and they're much taller and they
so cool.
They look just as good. These are very chunky. So I don't think they're going to be as chunky as these were.
Yeah, probably not.
But I think it's still high quality. I got to see a lot of pictures and stuff, and it looks really great.
Now, of the new figures, the one I'm most excited about is the Vine Weaver, that dragon. It looks like it's going to control vines under the ground and go after people. That's so cool. I'm all about that figure right there. And also the what is it? The bears, the Frostclaw Paladin.
Frostclaw Paladin. Yeah, the bears.
They're so cool.
Yeah, I think for me, the bears were the ones I was most excited about. I'm not like, the old school cards, I look at every one of those and I'm like, whoa, I don't quite have that whoa factor yet until I think I see them in person. Sure. One thing I really didn't like was I didn't like the fact that the Sergeant Drake Alexander character it was a little dynamic in their actual miniature, but it doesn't match the card at all. Right. And that's my biggest concern. And people know me. I love great aesthetic graphic design with good UI. The cards that I've seen are not good as far as graphic design goes. Not good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Compared to the original. And I'm just going to hope that, it looks fine in person, but just from what I've seen, I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm just hopeful that was like an early pre-production kind of stuff going on.
I think one of my favorite, I'm looking at the picture now. I think my favorite one is the riding the tiger.
Yes, I forgot about that one.
Is that Raylan, right?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my favorite because I love Raylan's. The Kyrie Warriors are some of my favorites.
And they went kind of heavy on pirates for this, looks like.
They did. Yeah, so it'll be super cool. The revival is here. Heroscape is back. So let's talk about the future. Where is Heroscape going to go? The impact of the revival.
It obviously is going to be dependent on how this first release does. But in general, I can see this just going on for a long time because the community is super enthusiastic and they're actually doing it right. So I have high hopes that this will be a long-term thing.
Well, and Scott's a master of marketing, and he knows exactly what this community needed, what Heroscape needed, and they're doing it the right way, like you said. Jumping in small, like they didn't release 15 master sets or like a bunch of things. They released 3 things with one piece of terrain.
Yeah, I would love to see what their future plans
the roadmap.
What is the roadmap? How many sets do you have in mind? And how many IPs are you going to bring in to the Heroscape world?
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about that too, because think about it. What if they could get like all the IP for doing Alien and Aliens and having all of that into the game? I'm not saying they're doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I would really like that as a want list.
Yeah.
I want the Xenomorphs and I want the Marines and I want Predators. To have that whole battlefield with those would be phenomenal.
Yeah, you heard it here first. That's what's going to happen. No, just kidding. That's not actually.
That's Mark's want list.
We don't have any insider information, by the way, for those out there listening. For me, it was just really cool because the excitement with the hesitation, but then the hesitation is going away. Like I'm slowly starting to see the hesitation from the community just run away because they know it's coming and they're no longer worried, stressed about it. The communities
probably
online are crazy.
My most anticipated board game for this year.
I'm going to Gen Con, so I definitely will be checking
same.
that out. We'll have to check it out together if you have some
Absolutely.
time at Gen Con.
That'd be
But
great.
and of course the online Heroscape communities, they're just people everywhere on Discord talking all day. And then they have the customs community, like you said before.
Yep.
And I actually wanted to show you one of my customs.
Oh,
Look at that. That's Balthazar,
so cool.
the Cerberus dog with custom base and everything.
That's so cool. I can't remember exactly what mine are, but I have like this giant like ship.
Oh wow, a ship
across, like a land ship that moves across the landscape, and it's just fully decked out. I can't remember. I'll have to see if I can get in there and show you, but it's so cool. So as you can imagine, I have not played Heroscape in probably 2 years.
Yeah,
but still though, it still remains one of my top favorite games of all time.
Yeah, and I think the custom community is crazy too, and I love designing custom characters, and I have like 24, I think, at this point, custom characters. Very much like I play test and balance them, because being a game designer, I want to have good playable characters, right?
Yep.
And I know a couple of the guys over at do stuff all the time. They release every month, release new characters. So it's really cool. The community is thriving.
Yeah, which is awesome to hear.
So Heroscape is back. That's going to be the episode, the core of the episode. But I think we need something else to talk about.
We do.
Mark, what time is it?
It is time for
the Beyond. Da, da, da. I will go first because I struggled to find something this week.
What?
I did. My brain's been all over the place, but I think I am going to stick with the board game space for my Beyond segment today.
It's whatever you're excited about. It doesn't matter.
I am going to talk about Mnstr games for a second, because
I'm so excited for you.
Starting,
that's such a big move.
It is a big move, and I'm finally over the hook of like being worried about, scared about self-publishing board games, scared about all that stuff. I'm kind of over that. I've been seeing it from all sides, from marketing to the shipping and logistics and stuff like that.
Sure, of course.
So we're announcing the official announcement here on it'll be our Monday, and Mnstr Games will be a game. We will make wild, wacky, and whimsical games with monstrous amounts of fun.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, so cool, right?
Are you primarily going to be crowdfunding then?
Yeah, so to start with, we're going to do crowdfunding. We're going to start our first game. Will be called Montoon's Clash of the Coral Isles, and that'll be a print-and-play arena brawler. So it'll be, you roll 5 dice, you assign them to your character, you move around this map, you shoot each other, you attack, you do. So it'll be a skirmish brawler, because we both love skirmish games.
Yeah, that's fun.
But you can find us on Facebook, Mnstr Games. We're all over on @Mnstr Games. So that's really exciting. I am the head of brand and marketing, and then my buddy is head of business operations. So
awesome. Well, big congrats, man.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Now it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to follow through. So we're going to follow through.
you're just laying the groundwork.
I'm laying the groundwork. So that's going to be my Beyond segment, just a casual self plug, but I had to do it.
You know anything about me, beyond board games, I am all about Legos. You should see my basement. Legos everywhere. It's just insane. And in my studio, it's just one of the things I love so much. So in general, though, I'm always Star Wars fan in the Lego world. But one grabbed my attention recently that I have not bought yet, but I really would like to have it, is the new Lego Batman the Animated Series Gotham Cityscape, which is like 4,200 pieces.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. But I grabbed the snippet. It's inspired by the iconic opening credits of Batman the Animated Series. The new set recreates the dynamic colors and familiar buildings of the Gotham City skyline. But this is what's cool. But it's what you don't see immediately that is the real surprise here. Fans will find that every detail, vehicle, structure, and decoration have been taken from a specific scene, episode, or moment from the groundbreaking series. I love that so much.
That's cool.
This animated series of Batman was like, wow. When it came on, I was like, a serious version of Batman, and also the definitive version of the Joker from Mark Hamill. Just phenomenally done. Yeah. And if you love Batman and the colorfulness of this cityscape, and they've got a stand for it to put on a desk or something, but it hangs on a wall, I really, really excited about this set. I want it so bad. It pulls all the things I loved about the series into it, and all the minifigures are so cool. It's so well done. I wish it was a little cheaper, but I mean, it's like $300.
Wow,
So
$300. Oh my gosh.
$300. Yeah. At some point I'll probably end up with it, but I don't have it yet. But that's something I'm super excited about in the Beyond.
I was never a huge Lego fan, but I was a huge Connects guy.
Oh,
back in
Connects
the
are
day.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they're essentially Legos, but just
they are
very different style.
very different. Yep.
And, I remember building Connects roller coasters here and there with my brother. And we would come home and, he'd have built these crazy masterpieces because we had a lot of Connects. We had tubs of it, like Heroscape. We built all the time. So that was a fun thing. That was our Lego. So
nice. Yeah. I just love, again, like you said, with Heroscape, I have the same thing with Legos. You have this cathartic thing about building them, right? You could just turn your brain off and just build, and you make this incredible 3D thing. I mean, I've even got Legos all over my desk.
You're kicking them around on the ground.
It's just, it's just one of the things. And I am, as my family likes to say, you are only 12. I said, yes. You are correct.
Correct. You are correct. And that is going to end our episode today. Closing thoughts. I'm just excited for Heroscape to come back, and is back and kicking. I can go over to Mark's house and we can play some Heroscape for a weekend and just have a good old time.
I cannot wait for that. That'll be awesome. Yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited about a board game since probably Return to Dark Tower.
Yeah.
That was the last time I felt this kind of excitement. Because it truly, even though, like I said, I haven't played for a couple of years, it still remains one of my favorite games of all time and will be on my list probably forever.
Yeah, it is the epic battle of all time. That is Heroscape. This has been our Heroscape episode. So I need to thank all of you for listening. High Rollers, you are amazing. If you want to subscribe to us on YouTube at Roll and Reflect channel, or subscribe wherever you get your podcast at Roll and Reflect or at Roll and Reflect Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And I think we need to tease what the next episode will be.
Oh, this is one of your favorites.
Yes. And we went back to back with a couple of my favorite games. The next episode, we will be talking about Radlands. We will be protecting the people, surviving the vibrant and vicious world of Radlands. It's an amazing game. 2-player head-to-head dueler.
Yep.
Have you played yet?
I have not, but it is in my schedule for this weekend to play.
Yes.
So the interesting thing that for us to talk about next time is going to be, you have the Kickstarter version, I have the retail version.
Yes.
So we got to compare.
Yes, we will talk about Radlands, the Kickstarter version, the deluxeified version versus the retail version as well, and just overall gameplay, and we will dive into the game a little bit further. So that next week, pay attention, and thank you for listening. Mark?
Yeah. Thank you so much, folks, for being here, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.